Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the November 20th Post Falls Urban Renewal Commission meeting. Director Lean, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Rehrman?
Here.
Coles?
Here.
Wunderlich?
Here.
Crosby?
Here.
Karstensen?
Here.
Babbage?
Here.
And Baltzell.
Here. And Commissioner Babbage will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and good morning. Are there any ceremonies, appointments, or announcements this morning? I was going to announce the award that we received in conjunction with the City of Post Falls and the Post Falls Chamber of Commerce, but since I've notified all of you and it was in the paper this morning, I'll pass on that, but we did get a nice award for our work with the city and the chamber over many years in the process of developing the Greens Ferry overpass project. So moving on, conflict disclosures. I hear of none. Let's move on to the consent calendar, please. Director Lean.
Yes, good morning, Chairman Baltzell and Commissioners. Item A in your consent calendar this morning is the Commission meeting minutes from October 16th, 2014. Item B is the Finance Committee minutes from November 5th. Item C is the Commission workshop minutes from November 12th. Item D is for the month is the payables for the month, totaling $595,045.45. Those payables, just to highlight the large amounts, the payables include the pay request number 4 for Cameron Riley on the City Center Revitalization Project for $199,076.53, and the engineer on that project, Welch Comer, for $21,000. Also, pay request number 4 for R.L. Wadsworth on the Greens Ferry overpass for $310,567.11, and the engineer on that project, JUB, for $31,541.05. Item E is the bank activity report, which shows total funds in all accounts of $5,833,488.80 and accrued interest for the month of $756.77. Your packet this morning also includes the draw request from Community First Bank for the Spokane Street Revitalization Project for $388,112.28. Item F is the financial reports as of October 31st, 2014 that are as printed from our in-house QuickBooks system, and those will be posted to our website as we usually do. Item G is the Greens Ferry Overpass Change Order number 1 for curb, gutter, and sidewalk north of Mullen on Greens Ferry. Your approval on the consent calendar will authorize the transfer of $756.77 accrued interest to the general fund, and also the transfer to the INB checking account of $595,045.45 for general payables. Chairman Baltzell, I would answer any questions.
I do have one quick question just for clarity. I know the answer, but others may not, and that has to do with the draw request from Community First Bank includes the funds to repay the general fund for the advance that was done while we were waiting for the loan documents to be completed.
That is correct.
Right, and that was $168,035.75.
Yes.
Right. Okay. Good. I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar as
I
presented.
have a few other questions.
Oh, right ahead.
With regard to that's a request of Community First Bank to draw down on the loan. Is that my understanding?
That was our request.
Our request.
Your request of the
Our request of the bank.
to Community First Bank to draw down on the loan that's been closed.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I just wanted to understand that.
Yes.
My second question has to do with the Finance Committee meetings, minutes. My notes don't agree with page 2 of that report, particularly regarding policy 27. So I would ask that be withdrawn from the consent calendar and those minutes changed to reflect a more accurate presentation on that policy discussion?
Any comments? Larry?
Well, I agree with Len. There was some confusion on that as to what was discussed and how it was written up. I talked to Director Lean yesterday to have him pull his minutes. I can't disagree with Len on his, that we're not on the same page on that one item. And I asked Director Lean yesterday to pull that, his notes or minutes to, so we can clarify that. At this point, well, I'm going to get to it next, but under finance and policy, we're not going to have another finance meeting until the first of the new year because of everything going on now. So maybe what we can do is just to pull that out of the consent calendar until we complete in January, and then we'll address everything at that time.
We'll pull the minutes out completely from that Finance Committee report and revisit them in January, is that what or December, or
That was-
January?
Is that what you?
Yeah, that's
what
consistent
you're
with my
suggesting?
suggestion also,
Yeah.
yes.
That's fine, we can do that.
All right, I think that would be fine.
Yeah.
Give us a chance to revisit that and correct whatever their issues are.
The other questions I had with regard to the payables, the Cusack Law Firm, can you tell me what services they're providing for the $2,879 we're paying them?
That was Mary.
Mary Cusack, yes. Mr. Chairman, the Cusack Law Firm has been retained to help establish a trust for the Richards family because there's a potential competency issue with Mrs. Richards. And in order to let the transaction move forward as far as us acquiring the Richards property, that trust needs to be established and approved by the court. And so that's why Ms. Cusack's law firm was retained.
Okay.
So we're paying for the family trust to be set up?
Right.
That's not part of the usual acquisition process.
That's part of the federal requirements for relocation.
Well, I think it does fall under a reimbursable cost under the federal guidelines. So that's why that was.
I think the whole point there under the FAR is that although it's to benefit the family, in order for us to move forward and benefit us to be able to complete our transaction with that family, action needed to be taken to facilitate that. And that was the only reason that justifies that.
Okay. And then my next question is the $750 for legislative efforts. I'm trying to understand what that is. Is it lobbying?
On the annual payment that we make to RAI, which is Statewide Association for Urban Renewal Agencies, we've committed $1,500 annually for that, and it's split to operating, if you will, operating costs and the legislative efforts, because they hire a law firm, Ryan Armbruster, a law firm out of Boise, to work with the RAI to represent them in all of the legislative process that we go through during the session. So basically, the payment that we make, as with all of the other agencies in the state, the member agencies.
I understand. Would that only be, that would only come into play, though, if there were a bill introduced that would impact negatively or favorably urban renewal? If there were no bills introduced, then I'm assuming that, or is that simply a retainer?
As an example, last session, Armbruster's law firm incurred about $20,000 in legal expense, and he only billed the RAI $10,000. So what we are paying covers his actual billing to the RAI. Every year, we get proposed legislation that is either in favor or not in favor on urban renewal activities in the state, and he is very much involved, as I am, in the legislative subcommittee on reviewing those proposed bills.
Oh, I understand what you're saying. I guess my last question on this is, are we paying an appropriate share? In other words, are this $1,500 across the board to all the urban renewal agencies that belong to this organization, or is it based on size, number of districts, tax revenue? How's it appropriated, and are all the member agencies current?
It's a good question. There's all of the member agencies, I can't address whether or not they are current. I know that we are one of the 4 largest agencies in the state. Some of the other agencies, the larger agencies I'm aware of, pay more than what we are paying, $1,500. We're not paying up to the level that the other larger agencies are. The smallest agencies, the agencies that are fairly new, have not generated any tax increment revenue to date, do not pay an amount, but they are members. At such time that they start generating tax increment revenue, they will start paying. I think the lowest amount paid by a member agency is $50, and it goes up from there. But there is a spread based on the size of the agency, how much increment total that they bring in. Mr. Coles?
Colin has a question.
I kind of see where Len's going, and I think it would be just an enlightenment to understand how they apportion that out for the various agencies. It seems to me it would be across the board one amount, or some formula based on number of districts or something, but we don't know, so.
And it brings up a question of mine as well, and that has to do with, I think the $750 is a membership fee, right? And the other $750 is to help pay for review of legislation. Is that right? Or?
That's correct.
Okay. That $750, do we pay that today, and then if by chance there's no legislation pending, does that return back to the agency, or do they put it in their bucket, or what happens to that money if it's not used for legal review?
That payment, Chairman Baltzell, the payment is made at the beginning of each year. In our case, we pay that at the beginning of our fiscal year in October. And in the last 3 years in the existence of RAI, the Armbruster Law Firm in Boise has not billed the association for the total cost of the actual fees. I mean, like last year, like I said, he incurred expenses of $20,000. He only billed us $10,000. That's consistent with the prior years. It's different amounts because of the amount of legislation that's proposed and the amount of work that he puts in.
I understand that piece. What I really wanted to know is what happens if they don't bill them and there's no additional fees? What happens to the $750 we contributed into that pot? Do they hang on to that for the next year, or do they return it to us, or what happens to that fee?
We've not incurred that. We've not experienced that.
Okay.
You know, the association is fairly new, and all of the activities to date have been quite a bit more than what has been paid in by the different agencies. So there has not been a question of leftover or surplus funds.
Okay. Could we, just so that for clarity, I think I would like to see it, and maybe so the rest would as well. Maybe at the workshop in December, we could receive some kind of accounting from them, not you, but from them, as to what was paid in last year by whom and what was paid out last year, and then what's been designated to be paid in this year for future legal reviews. And that way we can get an idea where the finances are with regard to that organization that we're helping fund, and then we can bounce that against the legislative activity that takes place during this period in early 2015, which will give us something to work with when we come to time for budgeting as to what we want to do to participate or not, and make that decision during budget time. Does that
Yes.
make sense?
It does. I appreciate that. And would it be appropriate to then remove this from the payables pending that discussion and that additional information?
I don't think so. I think we need to approve it. We've committed ourselves to it, and I think to mess with it now, I think would be probably premature. I would recommend we move forward with it. Any comments?
I would concur with that. But I do think I want an understanding of what it's going to cost us. And
That's my whole point. Let's look at that, but right now, let's move on with the request. So now, if we want to vote on the consent calendar with the exception of the removal of the minutes from the Policy Review Committee,
Finance Committee.
Finance Committee,
Item F.
pardon?
Item F.
We're doing the whole thing. We're pulling the minutes out.
item B.
Item F.
Just item B.
Yeah. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the consent calendar with the removal of Finance Committee meetings.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Paula seconded it. Just voice,
Roll call vote.
roll call vote.
Commissioner Wunderlich,
Aye.
Crosby,
No.
Carstensen,
Aye.
Waltzell,
Aye.
Babbage,
Aye.
Folds,
Aye.
and Rehrman.
Aye.
Okay, committee updates, finance and policy. Commissioner Carson says, is there anything additional to report?
Well, not really. Our earlier discussion is we've decided to wait till January. We've got roughly half of the policies reviewed, but because of the holidays coming up and the end of the year stuff, we've decided to wait till in January to complete the policy. And then we will, we're going to renumber them all and just bring it back then to the commission for discussion and approval.
Okay. Very good. District review, Commissioner Babbage.
Yeah, we'll, shortly after this meeting today, we'll have a district review subcommittee meeting where we're meeting with West Saltese 2 proponent. Give me the name again. Who's coming to the meeting?
Kevin Schneidmiller
Okay.
from Greenstone.
To get an update on what's happening in West Saltese 2, and then I think the target date for West Saltese 2, January, February, is the next review. And that will coincide, I think, with an update on Expo, right? And is Jim coming next month? Do we know?
Yes, either Jim or Gary Burton.
Okay. So the
From-
proponents from Expo will be here the following month to give us an update. So,
In December?
what date was that?
December, yeah, I think it was December 18th or whatever.
Right after the commission meeting.
Okay, very good.
So those are both comparable in size and activity, so it's good to get them done together at the same time so we can kind of have some comparisons going on.
Okay, very good. Any questions of Commissioner Babbage? Very good. Communications, property, and personnel.
I don't have anything.
Nothing yet? Okay. We do have an opening coming open on the Urban Renewal Commission as of the end of December, and I would expect that the Personnel Committee would do the initial review of any applicants that might apply for that position, and then bring that information probably to the January workshop meeting so that we can, as a commission, review those applicants and press forward with that at that time. Okay. Citizen comments. This section of the agenda is reserved for citizens wishing to address the commission regarding agency-related issue. Comments related to future public hearings should be held for that public hearing. Persons wishing to speak will have 5 minutes. We don't have any citizens other than these folks out there that wish to speak, so we'll press on with our unfinished business. Director Lean?
Yes, thank you, Chairman Baltzell. On the agenda, we have Greens Ferry Overpass. The October expenses for that, for the current month, was $356,706.16. That does include the owner's rep engineering firm, legal fees, miscellaneous expense, and the design build team. Total expenses to date are $2,259,507.03. On schedule, we continue to move forward with utility relocation and right-of-way acquisition. We anticipate placing traffic control barriers on the freeway in the first week of December, with work commencing in the median and by the right-of-way in the second week of December. And that will be continuing through the end of the month. On Frontier Communications Utility Agreement, this is an agreement that will be between Wadsworth Construction, the Urban Renewal Agency, and Frontier Communications. Purpose of that is to identify which party is responsible for any scope change, and that party agrees to pay for the cost of the changes. Frontier initially wanted to not move forward with any utility relocation work until totally all right-of-way was acquired and closed. That would have put us out 2 or 3 months on extension of our schedule, which was not acceptable. So we've worked out through this agreement. Their concern was that based on prior activities that they've been involved in, they get into the middle of a project, they purchase material, they spend a lot of money for that, and then somebody comes in after the fact and makes changes to the scope. They're stuck with the cost of that change. So we're trying to work through that, and we've made very good progress. The agreement also states that completion of the utility relocation must be made by March 15th, and a motion to approve entering into this agreement and authorizing the chairman to sign would be necessary by voice vote. Purpose of authorization today would be so that the final agreement needs to be reviewed by Frontier. They need to sign that and bring that back, and then the chairman would sign that. Obviously, if that agreement comes back and Frontier says, no, we want to change this and this and this, the chairman will not sign that until, if it has to come back to commission for review of any changes, that's what we'll do. But because of schedules, we need to go forward, move forward with this. And we believe that the agreement as it is acceptable to all parties. If they review it, sign it, and send it back to us, then at that point, we'll have the chairman sign it.
Okay. Any questions of Director Lean?
Yes, I had a question with regard to the Section 5, page 2, just to make sure that I understand this correctly. Basically, what we're saying is that if the utility company makes changes, they pay for those changes. If the design is changed pursuant to a change initiated by the design-build contractor, the design-build contractor reimburses the utility for the costs associated with the impact of that change. If the agency makes a change, which results in the utility company then having to further relocate the lines, then the agency pays for that cost. Is that a proper interpretation of Section 5?
That's the basic premise on the agreement.
Okay. In your opinion, what is the percentage risk to the agency of us making a design change outside in addition to the scope of the design-build contract?
Little or none.
That's exactly what I wanted to hear. And that was my perception. My
Talking
second,
about from the agency.
yes,
Yeah.
right, from the agencies.
Yeah.
My second question is really to council. It's in the fifth whereas clause on page 1. Yeah, I think it's the only use of a pronoun in the entire agreement, where it says, in accordance with the City of Post Falls ordinances, a relocation of company facilities shall be at their. I'm assuming that relates back to the company, but I'd like to have it expressed as the company, because it could be construed as their being the city.
Yeah, just substitute,
Company.
Company,
At company's
yeah.
expense.
I'd agree with that change.
Nice catch.
Thank you. I would make a motion that, subject to that one change, that
Right there.
we approve.
Company
This
instead of
agreement.
their,
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
I know.
Been moved and seconded, and that's a voice vote, is that correct?
Roll call vote.
Roll call
actually.
vote.
It's a contract.
Any further questions? Okay, let's take the roll call vote.
Baltzell.
Aye.
Babich.
Aye.
Karstensen.
Aye.
Crosby.
Aye.
Wunderlich.
Aye.
Coles.
Aye.
And Verman.
Okay, motion carried. Okay, regarding executive session, item number 8 under the agenda, Idaho Code 67-23451F, to communicate with legal counsel for the public agency to discuss legal ramifications of and legal options for pending litigation or controversies not yet being litigated but imminently likely to be litigated. I would entertain a motion to move to executive session, please.
Chairman, I move that we enter into an executive session pursuant to that citation.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Second?
We need a
Two of
time.
them.
How long?
I would estimate no longer than 30 minutes. Okay, and we do that by voice?
Roll call vote,
Roll
actually.
call vote. Okay.
Baltzell.
Aye.
Babich.
Aye.
Karstensen.
Aye.
Coles.
Aye.
Crosby.
Aye.
Verman.
Aye.
And Wunderlich.
Aye.
Okay, and motion carried. We'll move into executive session for no longer than 30 minutes. It is 25 past 7.
7:26.
Okay, I'd like to return the Post Falls Urban Renewal Agency back into regular session from the executive session. And I would like to also request a motion to amend the agenda to include consideration of a resolution from executive session, resolution number 2014-03.
04.
Excuse me?
04.
Okay, I was reading off of here.
Can you give me that number again? 2014?
Resolution number 2014-04.
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion that we amend the agenda to include discussion and consideration of resolution number 2014-04. And the good faith reason for amending the agenda is to consider and discuss a final decision regarding the matter that we have just discussed in executive session regarding litigation.
Thank you, Commissioner Crosby. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to amend the agenda to include resolution number 2014-04. Roll call vote, please.
Rehrman,
Yes.
Coles,
Aye.
Wunderlich,
Aye.
Crosby,
Aye.
Karstensen.
Aye.
Babbage,
Aye.
and Baltzell.
Aye. Okay, very good. Now I would entertain a motion to approve resolution 2014-04 as submitted. The resolution for the Post Falls Urban Renewal Agency authorizing condemnation proceedings for real property owned by Santorini LLC as required by the Greens Ferry Overpass Project and providing for this resolution to be effective upon its adoption and approval.
Moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the resolution. Is there any discussion, further discussion? If not, roll call vote, please.
Babbage,
Aye.
Karstensen,
Aye.
Crosby,
Aye.
Wunderlich,
Aye.
Coles,
Aye.
Rehrman,
No.
and Baltzell.
Aye. Okay, resolution has been approved. Okay, staff report and updates.
Yes, Chairman, I just had one comment, just an update on the Spokane Street Revitalization Project. We anticipate that the contractor will complete street sweeping and cleanup prior to shutdown, and that's going to happen here in the next couple of weeks. They're going to leave traffic control in place until the lights arrive. The street lights they've been on back order. They should come in the middle of December. So we'll leave reflective cones and barrels in front of the islands until those street lights come in and are in place. This week they're finishing the concrete work on the monuments, the signs, and landscaping. We are going to have one more work change directive and change order, a very minor one, for an ITD street light that needs to be installed on the corner for improved lighting on the on-ramp at I-90. And then after next week, work will most likely stop until, after this week, work will stop until the lights arrive. And then once those are done, we won't see any more work out there until next spring. They'll complete some of the landscaping. And then the final step in this project will be the chip seal on the entire Spokane Street. They can't do that until the temperature is around 80 degrees. So we'll see that midsummer, and then we'll be all done.
Okay, very good.
Chairman, just a question for Mr. Lean. Once the lights are installed, then I assume the traffic control issues will come down so that we won't impede the flow of traffic through the winter until we commence operations again in the spring.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Any other questions of Director Lean? If not, let's have any commissioner comments that you'd like to make. Okay, there being none, for my comments, I would just like to again thank the commission and the staff and our attorney for the excellent work. We have a lot of things that have been going on for the past number of months and really the past year. I appreciate the extensive efforts and the due diligence that you've had in your work ethic and all of the areas that we've had responsibilities assigned. I'm very pleased and happy to serve with all of you, and I know that we're going to be losing Commissioner Wunderlich at the end of December, and we'll recognize her next month. But she's done an excellent job in supporting us, and we're really happy to have had you on the commission. But in the meantime, we got a lot of work to do, and I thank you all for doing that. I thank the city and the staff here for their support. And with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So it's
Second.
moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Meeting adjourned.